Hey everyone, welcome to TPS. VCQ, how are you? Hope you're all amazing. How are you, Michael?
I'm alright. I was just waiting for Dan here, Mick here. Hello.
Dan here.
Mick here. Hello, La. Welcome, all ye. All ye, all ye.
Oh, ye, oh, ye.
What we need is a bell. Oh, I don't seem to be focusing.
Focus on this. I've been getting my Dan on.
Got a black magic.
Oh no, that was yeah. That's a bit of FM from Steely Dan,
Oh.
which I've been working on, which is really fun. I've been working on these tunes, right? Getting up early every day, just going through these tunes, and it's as much fun for me as the gigs. Just getting really into the minutiae of.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I am having so much fun with it.
And how many rehearsals have you done?
We've had 3, I think, and we've got another one coming up on Wednesday night.
How do you
which Paddy's
find
coming up?
How do you find the transition between your morning sessions and the actual rehearsal?
Oh, it's not. It's. I may as well have not have rehearsed at all.
That's obviously it was a bit of a leading question.
Yeah,
but...
no, it's. So what I need to do is every morning I'll learn the stuff. Then on Saturdays when I can turn the amp up at home,
Yeah.
I play a lot. I have the music on the stereo and then play through the real amp to get a bit of that. And it's like that's like I may as well have not practiced anything. And then get to the band, it's like I may as well have not practiced anything there. Every situation's completely different. Yeah.
It is bonkers mad, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's fun though. It's really fun.
Do we know that we're actually on?
Let's have a look.
I've managed not to log in yet.
Yeah. It would appear so.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
It's always good
It is always good.
if it is actually working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. As usual, bit of a slow start. Wadey 1960 CS is on. We say thank you to BV for being among the chat and herding that flock, as it were.
Kevin just says on.
On.
Everyone's saying you're on loud and clear. Hurrah. Thanks, everyone.
Todd Roy is on, Ben Schwartz is on, Gordon Neal is on,
Hello,
and Jeremy
Gordon.
Donovan is on.
Lee Weatherall, John W., Tim Houston, Angus McLennan.
No way, Jeremy Donovan. I was going to say, are you from Canada? He's actually from Vermont, which is not far from Canada. And I was remarking to Catherine only yesterday that there seems to be a lot of Donovans in Canada.
Oh, well, okay. Yep.
Apropos of not very much at all. Jeremy Cotter, just for the record, I know Vermont is not Canada, just for the record.
Okay. Is Vermont USA?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's, not far away. Brian Krause's Big Dog is on. Byron Krause's Big Dog. Jeremy Cotter, Zoot Allure is on. And the Hobo Roadie is on. We've got a lot of friends tonight.
Lovely.
How nice. James Blessed is on from Glasgow. Hey, James. Matt Swanton. Marcus is on.
Hello, sir.
He says, yo, boys. I mean, good evening, my good fellows. I do hope you are very well.
Chapeau, good sir.
Indeed we are. I'm going to turn the super chats off because we have many, it would seem, which is nice. Thank you very much for your super chats.
Bill Green says, thanks for everyone saying they were on because for me they weren't and I had to reload. There we go.
Ah.
Reload.
Right.
Tim Lurch. G'day, mate.
Hello, Tim.
It's been a while. Hope you're awesome.
Well, mate. I hope you're well.
I've been watching Tim on the old socials, on the old Tube of You.
Yeah.
And it's always wonderful to hear you play, Tim. It was
Always.
really... Please come back. We had so much fun and got so much out of your visit and love to hear you play. It's great to hear you doing it.
1,000,000%. Sorry, I'm juggling many things. BV is in contact via mobile telephone. I have older media here.
Okay.
More analogue media.
I like it.
Which is this week's housekeeping. Can I have some housekeeping music,
Housekeeping.
please?
Okay. What's that housekeeping music?
And welcome to this week's housekeeping. Patrons, we want to say a big congratulations to the winner of February's giveaways, Paul in Bristol. England won the Crazy Tube Circuit's Space Charged. Well done, Paul. Nice one. And the following people, there's 6 of them, won some lovely Stringjoy strings.
Lovely strings.
It'll be John L., who is from British Columbia in Canada.
British Columbia and Canada.
Richard M. from London, United Kingdom.
Richard M.
And Anders J. from Göteborg in Sweden.
Sweden, Swiss, Sweden.
Leo H. from Israel.
Israel, Leo H.
Mark S. from Texas.
Ah, yeehaw, it's Texas time, Texas time.
And Stuart R. from London. All at one, Stringjoy strings. Come on down.
Yeah, they're on the Stringjoy strings. It's quite a thing, those Stringjoy strings.
March's giveaway
strings.
is a Kern and Ridge.
Oh, really?
Mark's-
That's a big deal.
March's giveaway is the old Stormtroopers lunchbox. Kern and Ridge, thank you very, very much to the team there in Paris who have allowed us to give this away to one lucky patron. That will be
That's
the
amazing.
March patron giveaway. Yeah,
It's a very cool thing.
very nice prize. Very nice prize. Thank you to everyone at Kern for that, for allowing that to
So,
occur.
Mick, if someone would like to be in that giveaway, what do they need to do?
They would need to sign up at patreon.com/thatpedalshow.
Patreon.com/thatpedalshow.
That pedal show.
Patreon.com/thatpedalshow.
That was nice. Giveaways every month. Right, let's go quick. D&M drives. We've got some more D&M drives after a long time of not having any.
Wonderful.
They're in stock at that Pedal Show store. We only have 10, so they won't last long. And just as a reminder, each D&M drive comes free with a short sleeve T-shirt, so you can choose a T-shirt of your choosing, I believe.
Yep, great.
So that's good. Experience days. God, sorry. For anyone that actually wants to talk about guitars and stuff, we do have quite a lot of housekeeping. But experience days, the next batch are going to be released very soon. Dan, when did we start doing experience days? When was the first experience day?
I want to say 18 months ago.
It was 3.5 years ago.
You're kidding. It can't be.
October 2021.
No way.
That's exactly what I said when Catherine asked me. I said, all right, we've been almost 2 years. She said, no, it's been 3.5. Anyway, so experience days. As a result of it, having done them for 3.5 years, we're going to have a bit of a change up on the format. We're just saying this if you're thinking, like naked twister in the morning. Guess the root vegetable in the afternoon. I think it's a carrot.
It's a potato.
Anyway, we're going to change the format a little bit. It's going to be broadly the same. You still come to that pedal show. You still play loads of cool gear. You still look around. You still hang out with like-mindeds and have a lovely day. But we're going to actually include a bit of practical in the day and actually put a pedalboard build in for the day as well. So,
Yeah, nice.
we're just saying that because we need to communicate that very clearly, that the format is going to change a little bit to change it up for all of us. Anyway, our active patrons on the mailing list will be getting details of when the next batch of tickets will be going on sale later this week. So patrons will hear about it first. Yet another reason to be there at Patreon. Anyways, thank you for enduring the housekeeping.
Lovely.
I suppose we should probably gallop straight to the super chat, Daniel. There's a lot of, quite a lot of bits and roberts this week.
Cool.
Have you come to any decisions about the wobbly bar?
Well, yeah, I'm just going to leave it.
Dan's got problems with this because it's very hard to stay in tune.
It's this.
The sideways vibrola that doesn't return to any
Go.
sort of home.
Or
So you've just got to find out where home is.
and it's just just terrible.
Dumb question. Could you detach this part? Or at least this part?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, because it's all original. I don't really want to, but it'd be nice to find somewhere it could return. I think all I'm going to do is do this a lot,
Yeah.
and then
And a lot of that.
find tune it up to standard from here. I know.
Okay. Right, let's move along.
Sorry.
I've just finished editing a video of going to buy that Marshall where I play a bunch of Marshalls and I've got like trouble with tuning all through and it's just driven. I've cut as much of it out as I can, but oh man, it's so annoying. And then what you know is you'll get all the comments that go, dude, learn to tune your guitar. It's like, I know how to tune my guitar. Other forces are at play here, as Dan is ably demonstrating at this moment. Anyway, let's get on with it. Michael Giliberto. So you're going to leave it.
I've got to find a way to deal with it because I'm in love with the sound of it, and every time I've touched something, it's changed the sound. So I think I just need to learn, like, if I pull it to the least, like the lowest thing, and then let it go back, tune it up to that, and hopefully it'll come like. And don't touch it.
Yeah, don't touch it.
Yeah.
Don't touch. You've seen enough of that one. Michael Giliberto is first in tonight. He says, greetings, legends and tangents. Nice. Hope everyone is well. No question from me today, so please take one from the chat.
Oh, thank you, mate. That's very kind.
We will. Let's have a look then. Sorry, I'm just looking for a question mark.
Moon said, put some robo-tuners on it. That would be hilarious. So, just to finish that thought, Marcus has said, I think there's a way to blocking the vibrola. And I do have the thing that blocks the vibrola. And it's very cool, but it changes the sound of the guitar. And I put the original gubbins on just to try it. And I much preferred the sound of it with the original gubbins and all the old metal on it. So, yeah, I'm just going to... It's working. Don't touch it.
There you go. Ian Jeffrey says, "Is the super chat still open?" We just closed it, Ian. We've got enough in, so apologies that you've missed that.
Well, I do have a question here.
Good.
Unless you've got one. So, Simon VRDJ, g'day, mate.
Hello, Simon.
He says, lads, what is that orange Fender beastie behind Dan?
Ah.
What the Leo Fender is going on?
Okay, it is actually red, Simon. It might look orange because of the lighting. I found this on Electronic Bay.
Look at this thing. It's extraordinary.
So ever since dear old Robin came in and brought his Dumal,
That's brilliant.
I've been thinking about. I did measure Robin's Dumal cab and Dumble cab, and I was thinking about making one. It's not exactly the same, but it is. I'm pretty sure the Dumble cab was based on an old Bassman 212.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So. And it's very lightweight. The thing that really struck me about Robin's Dumble cab, that it was very lightweight. Anyway, I was thinking about making one or having one made. And I was perusing eBay, as I always do, and found this, which is one of the Tone Tubby, but when they were brown. They were called brown before they were called Tone Tubby.
Okay.
Or at least there was a brown. And it's got the Dumble style.
Oh, it does.
Rear panel there. It was empty, and it was on sale for a really stupidly low price, like 180 quid.
Really?
So I flashed the cash and bought it.
Cha-ching.
The previous owner has put this Fender logo on it, which I'll probably take off.
It's part of its history now. It's part of its lore.
Yeah,
I've learnt that word now from my children. And
in the wake of it having no speakers,
right,
there's one G1265 that we bought off Joel Silber. Hello, Joel. That's made its way in there. And I was going to buy another one, but I thought, just to be angular and difficult, I will buy a warehouse ET65.
What's that?
It's the equivalent by Warehouse Guitar Speakers.
Oh, okay.
So it's the equivalent of the Celestion, but made by Warehouse Guitar Speakers. So I'm looking forward to miking them both
Oh, that'll be
and
interesting.
seeing what they sound like.
Okay.
So I'm sort of figuring that it'll work on with pretty much anything, and I'm quite interested to try the new Marshall on it too, given that I can't always use a 412. So will it work? I don't know. Anyway, it's a pretty cool thing.
That's a very cool thing.
It's a pretty groovy thing. Because what I thought, Dan, was we needed more cabs.
Yeah.
Because we've only got
I know, it's silly.
like about 12 that I can see in this room alone. So anyway,
You know, the crazy thing is that you get a 212 cab, an open back 212 cab.
we don't have another one.
Yeah.
Actually, we do. We got one, but it's a different design.
Well, there's
Zilla
there's a
one.
matchless one. There's a Zilla one. There's a Dr. Z one.
They're all different than the Fender ones, though.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, open back 2x12 cab. They all sound radically different. Yes,
Yeah.
different speakers, but yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't tried it. I've run it in a little bit, and I'm gonna when I've got a minute, I'll give it a play. Maybe we'll give it a play tomorrow.
I like that it has some age to it. That the woods had some time to settle in and stuff. I really dig that. I think
Yeah,
it's
we'll
pretty
see.
cool.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's made of pine because it weighs almost nothing.
Yeah,
the back,
there you go.
unfortunately, is particle board, which I don't know if that should be like that or shouldn't be like that, but we'll take that in the round.
Tim Chalmers says, put a TPS badge on it.
I kind of like the idea of having no badge so that I can use it horizontal or vertical.
To play badge.
Joel Silber, the aforementioned Joel Silber, is the next question. Hello, Joel. Nice to hear from you, buddy. He says, evening. You once said that the Fishman Aura was latency flawed. Was that with the on-board stuff, transducer and DSP? Is there any evidence that it affects their other Aura pedals which take an analog signal and process it?
So the problem with the latency with the onboard stuff is you had one analog signal path and one purely digital signal path. The problem happens when you mix them. So there's been a tradition with acoustic pickups that some people have put microphones in and transducer pickups and under saddle piezo stuff and the ability to blend them all to get a sound. What the Fishman one did was they gave you a piezo under saddle pickup, but they also gave you a digital like a capture of some different acoustics, and that's great. The problem came when you went to blend them. You were blending a digital signal with latency with an analog signal, and I don't. Just every time we blended it, it just got weird. So that will happen anytime you blend an analog signal that has no latency with a digital signal that has latency. You get this strange phase cancellation that the only way to fix it is to add the same amount of latency on your direct analog signal. So it's just one of those things. Now, if you've got one of their, let's say you took the digital shenanigans out and you put that in a pedal that was in your signal chain, and everything you played went through it, then you'd be fine because you're not blending that in with anything else. It's just
yeah,
a
if you've just
digital
got
thing.
a normal pickup in a guitar and you put it through that,
that's fine. The problem comes with when you're blending the two. You get a time-based latency issue.
Now it does become a little bit moot when you get into PAs and things, because actually, so Dan's point is absolutely correct that if you're mixing it straight out the guitar, you have an instant phase problem. Now, what I don't know is if they corrected the analog signal with a bit of latency as well. I doubt they did.
No.
So it's
Then it wouldn't have heard. Then it would have been perfect.
If you went to a 50-50 blend, there'd be a weird phasing thing. And what's interesting about most acoustic guitar pickups is they do have a phase reversal switch, but all that does is flips it 180, flips one of the signals 180. So it's still not quite there. I.e., there's an odd phase relationship and some frequencies will cancel out. Now, in the world of amplified acoustic guitars, that stuff is going on all the time anyway on the main signal, because quite often there's some sort of feedback buster invoked. There'll be all kinds of EQing going on at the desk, but that's fine because, as Dan says, it's happening on the whole signal.
That's right.
Now, if you add in the time reality of being stood here and the sound coming out over there, that's probably more than the digital latency in the first place. So the latency itself is not the problem. It's mixing latency with no latency that's the problem.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Because
ergo, the pedal's totally fine.
Yeah, exactly. Every time you're going through the H90 or the H9 or the Line 6 Helix or any of that stuff, it's all latency. But if it's everything's going through at the same time, you don't hear it because you're not mixing it with anything analog.
Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah.
Martin Bayliss says, Mick, are we going to hear the Marshall today? I did ask several times last week. Hi, Martin. Not on VCQs. We have tried doing guitar on VCQ, but it's just too much hassle. It's too hard to do. We need somebody working sound in order to do it.
Because you forget to press one little button at the wrong time and everything goes horribly wrong.
In short, our voices are about, 65 dB. That's 100 dB. These mics are gained up 50 dB. Those are minus 20. So you've got like a 70 dB difference in the mic gain.
Quite a lot.
Which is quite a lot. So you have to have the voices and the guitars done separately, and somebody has to ride that, which doesn't sound very complex, does it? And we ought to be able to do it. But we also found in VCQ people want to talk. They don't necessarily want to hear us play guitar.
In all honesty, I think
you may disagree.
Yeah, the conversation is going on in VCQ. I'm surprised anyone notices that we're here.
Yeah. You will hear it soon.
Absolutely. And Kevin the Just says, aren't latency and phase different issues? Asking for a friend. Yeah, they are. But what happens, Kevin? Let's say you've got two guitar signals, right? And they're going along, and this is just, a sine wave. If they are in phase, they are perfectly aligned. The high part matches the high part, the low part matches the low part. If we flip the phase of those, then when the speaker pushes, the other one pulls. So if you imagine that signal transferred to speakers, which is what would happen, if one's out of phase, then you get this action, the push me pull you. And what's happening is those things, if two signals are perfectly out of phase, they will cancel each other out perfectly. Now, what happens with latency is you get a time-based latency, which means the signal that comes in, which is exactly this. So the signal that comes in that pushes up, it's going to push up a millisecond later. Right.
So in phase?
Yep. Out of phase, and a time-based latency. So,
not correctable, because if you flip this 180 degrees, you get this.
Exactly. What happens is, and the reason that you call it, the reason that you add the word phase in there, is because at certain frequencies you have phase cancellation, right? And it's a time-based phase cancellation, which means depending on the amount of latency, the time and the latency will depend on the frequencies that are being, the frequency dependent phase cancellation. So you can't just flip it. The source, because the time is different at the source, that's when you get that time-based phase thing.
There you go.
Yeah.
If you want to play with it, and you can be bothered, get a track and load it into your computer recording machine, and then duplicate that track below it. And for this, why don't you use an actual physical, an actual song, a piece of music? Drag an MP3 in and then copy it on the track below. What happens when you put it on the track below is it gets a bit louder and more distorted. Everything's in phase. Now, shift that bottom one by a number of samples to the right.
Yeah.
That's latency.
Yeah, exactly.
And listen to the result.
And to finish this off, to round this circle, if you have two signals perfectly in phase, the output will double.
Yeah.
Right? Because that is, you're literally layering on top of, will double the output. If two signals perfectly out of phase, they will cancel each other out completely.
There we are. Good. Scott Tucker. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Scott.
Greetings from North Carolina. Hello to North Carolina. I'm currently assembling a Plexi-style amplifier. From a kit, Marshall Plexi, I just installed the bias pot and realised that I've made it to the age of 54 without knowing what that does. Please enlighten.
Oh, the bias pot on the valves?
I don't know.
It
could do a number of things.
Yeah, if you've got so assuming that you're using a fixed bias configuration, which you would be on your Plexi, it's not cathode biased. And what the bias pot does is it puts the operational current of the power valves in the right region to give you maximum amount of headroom. And there's a couple of ways to do this. The best way to do that is with a scope so that you can put a signal in and measure it. But there are guides which you might put a 1 ohm 100 watt resistor across the there's the anode from that goes to ground.
There's a
you
plate
can replace
voltage.
that. And you can replace that and measure the plate voltage in millivolts, and there's charts that you can see that says this is the operating range that you want the valves to operate in. But basically, yes, the bias control sets the level of sets the operational range of those valves.
So within the valve itself and the amp itself, there'll be a suggested range where it should sit. If you go below that, which is called biasing it cold, it can sound sterile, less overdriven, sterile and cold. If you over bias it, it means everything's working harder, it goes into overdrive more freely. It could be that the tubes wear quicker, and this is when we're talking about output valves, which is why when you have an amp with fixed bias in the way that Dan just described, every time you change the valves you need to rebias it into its optimum range. So the bias pot is going to enable you to do that if we're talking about output valves. It can also relate to preamp valves. So if you're talking about the famous BK Butler tube driver, for example, I've got one that's got a bias pot on the back, and that is so that you can get that tube running harder or less hard, presumably via a similar method, but to do with preamp tubes. So I don't know what exactly the pot is going to be doing in your Plexi style.
If it's a Plexi style, though, it'll be the power valves.
I would have thought so.
Yeah.
I would have thought so, yeah. So, that's what it's for.
Yeah.
It used to be, Fender amps especially had a bias adjustment thing on the back, and I think they just stopped putting it there because it caused more problems than...
And some bias pots had a balance and a bias, because you'll have one master bias control which will affect both valves, and some valves had two where you could balance between the valves so you get them working equally and then put them in the right operating range. Now obviously you're building this amplifier so that you are aware of this. The voltages, the DC voltages specifically running around your output section are lethal. So they're great projects to do, but please be careful. If you don't know how to bias, there should be instructions on. I'm assuming if you're doing it out of a kit, they will include those 1 ohm 100 watt wire round resistors so that you can measure. But it's always great if you go to a tech or someone that can put a scope on it, put it under load, and put a signal through it, and then you can get it right in the perfect range. It's always the best way to do it.
A lot of new Victory amps have bias test points where you can safely put in a meter, multimeter, and get a measure that way. Yeah. Which is
Hamster does that as well, and they have a chart about these are the valves, and you're looking for this range for maximum thing.
Which saves you having to take it. Well, mainly saves you having to take it to a tech every time you change tubes. If you change tubes,
and that's one advantage with advantage. Part of the sound of a Vox amplifiers, they use cathode bias output stage, the EL84s. And to bias those valves, they simply have a fixed value resistor, which does the biasing. So you take out an EL84 valve, you pop a new one in, it auto biases, and away you go. Yeah.
Andy Cooper says hot rods have bias points too, and David Tompkins says his carving has bias points too.
Right. It's a simple thing to do, but it's a really handy thing. If you're using the amplifier a lot, you're changing out valves, you need to make sure those valves are in the correct operating range.
There you go. Okay, next in will be Paul Matulovic. Hello, Paul. Good to hear from you, buddy. Hope you're well. He says, evening podic termini. Nice.
That's very good, mate. How you keep coming up with those is brilliant.
I'm finally starting to take on more complex pedals and get deep. Any helpful tips or tricks for remembering secondary functions and such so I don't have to glue myself to the manual?
Yeah, get a label maker, print out the secondary function and put it next to that pot.
Yeah.
Some pedals, so I remember when Meris did their small series, they actually sold an overlay that you could put on the pedals that had all the secondary functions, because a lot of people had that issue. Because the secondary functions, a lot of these pedals are really important. If you have a look at the Strymon L cap, for example, a lot of people had the pedal for years before they realized there was actually a reverb in that pedal as well under a secondary function. Great sounding and a master volume as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're starting to get if there's too much going on, get a label maker, print out the secondary function, pop it on there.
There you go. I try not to use any pedals that have secondary functions for that very reason.
For political reasons.
Unless I've spent some time with it and I just know.
Yeah.
This is an interesting point about UI. Like on some pedals, it makes it, and I'm not saying this would be the same for every person, but for me, it just makes utterly total logical sense what the secondary function is going to be. And the Source Audio Collider is a bit like that.
Yeah. The UI on the Source Audio stuff, but specifically the Collider, is so good.
Yeah.
And I think any pedal that you can sit down, you don't need a manual with, and in 5 minutes you got it worked out. That's the dream.
Yeah, and it is different from human to human, because I know that different UI approaches work different for different levels of cognition, don't they? But yeah, and then add in a load of cognitive stress from, for example, a performance or having to remember words or talking to an audience. And I think that's why I've always gone back and back and back and back and back to as simple as possible, because in that environment I can't process that information.
Sure.
I can't do it.
Yeah. So we had, where is it? Someone asking how your finger is. David Tompkins says, Mick, how's the finger? Did you avoid amputation?
Oh, David, thank you for asking. If you mean the finger that I broke this bone here where it attaches the hand. It's called the boxer's break.
Really?
Don't worry, I didn't hit anyone. And it's complete. Funnily enough, I was just saying to Catherine the other day, I said I have noticed absolutely no pain.
That's fantastic.
I was sort of expecting, because it's been cold here, I was kind of expecting it to be a bit. I've got a couple of other injuries here and there which hurt when it's cold, but not a sausage. I had to in brilliant middle-aged life replace a waste on a sink yesterday, and I one of the things that back to our grip strength conversation, Daniel, one of the things I couldn't do when my hand was broken was like open a jar of jam or anything like that. The jelly, sorry for you Americans. But I got no problem with grip strength or anything. So thank you for asking. Sorry for the long answer. It seems to be as close to 100% as the finger sits a bit lower than it did before, but I can lift it. I can't lift it quite as high as that one, as you can see.
Okay.
But
there's no pain.
No pain.
Moving around.
No dexterity issues that I've found yet. I've yet to do my concert recital.
Oh,
the
okay.
Rachmaninoff.
Oh man, I've given up on that.
Yeah.
On Rach. I'm going for if I can get to play Imagine.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Imagine if you could.
Imagine if I could play Imagine. That's very good.
So yeah, thank you for asking, David. Thank you for asking. Scott Pickett. Hello, Scott. Scott Pickett says, happy Monday, gents. No question. Thank you for all you do for the guitar community. P.S. Did you see Jeff Beck's pedalboard is going on auction? I didn't.
Yeah,
What's on it? Klon?
Yeah, there's actually 2 Loopy 2s on there.
Is there?
Yeah, he's been so he had Loopy 2s before they became the QMX2. Originally, he had 2 remote Loopy 2s on his board that was being switched externally, and then he put them all on his board. He had 2 Loopy 2s on there that he used for his 12 years.
What was that doing? Switching in stuff that was off somewhere?
Yeah, switching in. He had a couple of no, there was all on his board. But he had like a really old, what was it? There's an Octava,
okay,
like a really old thing that was really nasty bypass.
Just had a
stuff.
disastrous bypass.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I just would like to reflect on 2 things after that question. Thank you for the question. Number 1, Dan's humility. I don't think you've ever mentioned that Jeff Beck was using gig rig stuff.
Have I not?
I'm not sure you've ever mentioned it on the show. Number 2, quite often when we do shows, and I appreciate this may not be relevant to our beautiful audience this evening, but to the average viewer, you'll often get a comment that says, Gilmore and Beck don't need loads of effects. Or Jimmy never used pedals, or some, daft thing like that. Not only did Jeff Beck use pedals, he really cared about the bypass sound of the shitty ones.
Yeah.
So this stuff, right? I know, I appreciate we're preaching to the converted here. The core, the bullseye of the TPS dartboard who's watching tonight. But for all of those people who are cynical about the great players and gear, they're just as mad about it as everybody else.
They
more so, in fact.
really are.
But what they don't do is talk about it a lot.
There you go. So 2 Loopy 2s there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Google Jeff Beck's pedalboard.
Yeah,
You'll be able to see what we're looking at.
Yeah,
and that thing there. Big square grey thing up on the left-hand side.
The ring modulator.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Jeff Beck didn't use any pedals.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
Utterly giant pedalboard.
No, he didn't. Didn't use the ventilator or a Klon type. They actually had the Archer on his board. Super Octava, flanger, Echoplex delay. I mean, none of that stuff. He wouldn't be caught dead with it.
Moon says Jimmy never played vintage guitars. That is true. That is true. That is true. Oh man, I'm just so. Every time I play that with a fuzz now.
Oh,
it's 1 minute it's EJ, the next minute it's Jimmy, and it's like that's the sound.
Yeah, it totally is.
Don't get me wrong, it's not the sound. The sound is with them playing it, but it's as close as I'm going to get to the sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, there we are. Jeff used a rat, says Elephant Foot Risers. Did he? Was there a rat on there? Google it. You'll see what was on there.
Yeah.
Bunch of stuff.
I can't see a rat on this one.
I'm sure he used all kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's no rat on the latest board.
Yeah. Okay, next up, Simon VRDJ. Simon, good to hear from you, buddy. He says, afternoon, DNM. I'm suffering from conference cold right now. That will be after the Birmingham Guitar Show, which was last weekend. Have you ever suffered from pedal apathy, where you feel the board has too many pedals and it puts you off playing? Much love to you. I don't think Dan ever has, but I do every day.
Right. Yeah. No, I go through periods of I'm not playing enough. What am I doing? But now that I've got this project happening, I'm like, I've built a new board around it. I've built a new board that will enable me to do it, and a bunch of other things. But yeah, I'm in.
Dan, as a personality type, tends to deal with more very well. So if there's another option that's available, you quite often go with it, and you don't have any cognitive problem with dealing with it.
Right.
Although inevitably, the bigger the board gets, the more any of us will spend chimping, which is to say hunched over it like a chimp instead of stood up.
Chimping. I
Like-
haven't heard that before. That's quite good.
Like a human facing the audience.
Right.
There is a bit of that. Part of getting this, and I know I've been talking about it a lot, but I'm still fizzy about it. There's a hilarious series of vlogs coming up, and I say hilarious because it's me disappearing up my own bottom, chasing the wild goose, right? Starts off with the usual big pedal board, you know, wet dry, 2 boards, 2 amps, blah, blah, blah. Then we have the I'm buying a Marshall revelation, so I go and buy this. And you'll see that. But what's becoming very clear is exactly what you're talking about, Simon. It is this absolute desire to simplify, because I just need to simplify because I can't worry about it anymore. I've just been too worried about it for too long. And it to your question, it absolutely stops me playing the guitar. Option paralysis.
Yeah, that ain't good.
And there's another question coming up in a minute about slimming down your gain stages. I am totally going through that, but it does require courage, because you're like, oh, I'd really like that.
I know what you mean.
I'd really like that. I'd really like that. I'd really like that. Anyway, not to go to too much of a spoiler, but at the end of the first episode, I'm putting them out as vlogs because it seems a bit unfair to do them as Friday shows, but at the end of the first episode, I get to the end, spend the whole episode building this amazing rig, and at the end I go, yeah, total overkill. Just not required for that gig at all. Not required.
Right.
Back to the drawing board.
Brilliant.
It's like 6 pedals on the board. I use 2 of them, maybe 3. But then what do you do? If you only got 3 pedals on your board and you go to do something else the following week,
That's right.
then oh God, it's so annoying.
I tell you what was interesting. I had one of our rehearsals. I just threw a few pedals on the floor just to get through it, and I dug it because it was simple, and I'm like just trying to get the parts down. But what was interesting is I'm going through it and go, well, actually, this isn't the right sound for this part. What I need here is that treble booster or the hot cake, or whatever it's going to be. And when I rehearse with the right sounds, the band is completely different. When you've got a band that's really listening,
Yeah.
and is picking up, it's like Doug is such a great listening drummer,
Yeah.
and because we've been playing together for 20 years, right? And when I lift, he lifts. But it's like, oh, okay, there's certainly to get things right for the sort of show that this is, there's a value in rehearsing with that as close as I can get to
Because
that
it's
thing.
got to become second nature,
Absolutely.
hasn't it?
And that performance is as much
Yeah.
to do with everything else.
It almost, Tim, if you're still in the chat, Tim Lurch laid some really serious knowledge on us when he came in and did the show with us, and talked about the 3 stages of learning. One is, and forgive me if I make this quick, but 1, figure out where your fingers go. 2, think about how to do that and practice it. So number 1, where do your fingers go? Number 2, practice, practice, practice. Number 3, perform. And the point about it is that in number 1, your mind is 100% engaged in what's going on, learning where to put your fingers. In the second stage, it's less engaged because you're practicing it and you could be kind of doing something else while you're doing that. Third, your mind isn't in the game at all. You are simply performing. And that, I would say that relates to learning how to use your gear and pedal board every bit as much as it does what notes you're playing.
Completely. Yeah. If there's stuff that you've got to hit during the thing, absolutely.
Yeah. And then to compound that, if you're at your show and you can't remember what notes to play or what pedals to press.
That's right.
And I've done a few gigs like that over the previous months, which is an awful place to be because nobody wants to hear that.
Rohan Rainbow says, "G'day gents from the Sunshine Coast, Queensland, Australia. We've been so fortunate that we missed the worst of Cyclone Alfred. Just sending lots of love to anyone in Brisbane and that area that got hit with that. It's a shocking thing. I mean, cyclones and stuff, we get hit with a lot of them in Australia, but this one's particularly bad. Cyclone in Brisbane, drought in Adelaide. You know, it's all happening. But he says, I've solved the guitar humidity issues with an electric dehumidifier. It's removing 2 litres of water a day.
Wow.
It's the Sunshine Coast.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there at Sunshine Coast in December.
Nice.
Yeah, so lovely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, echo Dan's thoughts for everyone there going through that. More prosaically, there was a question from... Oh, please, can I find it? I think it was Dale Cooper. Was it Dale Cooper? Asking about Strat springs.
Oh, yeah.
Dale Cooper says, any tips on Stratocaster springs? The stock ones feel too stiff and tight. I think your chat went on and someone was asking how many of you got in there, and you're saying... it doesn't say how many you've got in there. Sorry if I can't keep up with all... Oh, you've got 2, and you say you've got 2 screws and they're barely screwed in at all. Okay, that sounds like you're using extremely light strings, are you? All mine have 5, unless I want to use the trem and float it, in which case they have 4. And oh no, that one's got 5 as well. And that's for a 10.5 to 50 set. 48 actually now. But you should be able to screw, if you're using 9s, for example, 3 springs should be fine, and you should have enough tension at concert pitch in order for that to balance nicely. So if you find there's too much tension in the springs that you have, firstly, check the claw, how far the claw is screwed in. So on this guitar, you can see there you go. You can see that there's 5 springs and the claw is a long way in, which is unusual. On a new Strat, that's not very common for the claw to be that far in. If your claw is very far in, then you could bring it back out a bit and that will reduce the tension.
Dark Cooper says 9 to 42. It's a modern style trem.
Yeah, so that with 2 springs, I'm astounded that won't float. So you're either playing extremely low tension tuning, so you might be tuned down to D
Drop
or
C,
something.
yeah.
Or your claw is too far in. Finally, you can get, if you look for raw vintage springs, the brand is Raw Vintage, they have less tension than new Fender springs.
Right.
So that might be worth a look.
Yeah.
Hope that answers it.
Their stuff's great. Brian C. Davis says, you guys are badass. Just saying.
Thank you, Brian. I think that's the first time I've ever been called badass.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to read it out loud.
We'll take it.
So we've got a permanent
We'll take it.
acknowledgement of it, permanent record
Geeks, boomers, blues dads, we get a lot, but...
Boomer Benz.
Actually, we haven't been called blues dad for a while.
No.
Ollie Clam. Hi, Ollie.
Hi, Ollie.
Long time, first time, he says. Wet dry. My current split after the gain and boosts before delay. But want dry amp using amp gain with the wet amp always on the ODR1. If I split before the ODR1, I miss a post gain solo boost in the dry amp. Help. Okay, let's decode that then. So what Ollie's saying is 2 amps, wet dry, all the overdrive pedals hit both amps, and the wet effects only hit 1 amp. But what he's saying is he wants 1 amp to run dirty using the amp overdrive, and he wants the other amp to get its overdrive using the Noble's ODR1. So in order to do that, at the moment, the split comes after the ODR1. Let's say, for example, the ODR1 is the last gain pedal in the chain. Before the wet effects, so that it hits both amps. He's saying if he splits before, closer to the guitar, before the ODR1 and only puts that on one side, he then loses his solo lift.
Mm-hmm.
That, my friend, is the problem with using the gain in your amp.
Correct. Okay. You have, with any wet dry setup, you effectively have a parallel signal path where you have two lines of signal, and so you split the signal. You've got some effects on one going to the other, and with the dry amp, no effects, but you still have a parallel signal path. Now, what happens when you want to use your amp gain? So let's say you split before the gain stages. So you just have the gain stages going to your wet amp or whatever, and you're just using the amp overdrive. And you're saying you're missing the post-gain lift.
Because you'd want a gain after the ODR1.
Exactly. So there's only, I shouldn't say only, but you need to have a lift on both sides of that parallel path. So you would need a double boost, two different signal paths that you can turn on at the same time. Depending how dirty the overdriven amp is as well, that lift may need to be in the effects loop.
Yeah.
So it all gets a bit, it absolutely can be done. If you have two boost pedals that you can put right next to each other and have the foot switches really close so you can turn them on at the same time, but you would need to do it in a way that it's a boost going into each separate amplifier. Yeah, it's tricky. It can be done, but it's a bit tricky. You also need to make sure that every time you hit the boost, you're not switching phase, or if you hit two boosts together, they both need to switch phase or not at all. Yeah.
It is entirely dependent on how gainy the amps are running. So one scenario could be if your dry amp, let's get this right. Okay, so the dry amp is using amp gain.
Mm-hmm.
And the wet is always on ODR1. So you've kind of got the same thing, to be fair, because they're both running gainy. So you could, if you put the boost before the ODR1, that means it will hit both amps. But because they're both gainy, they'll both lift by a similar amount if they're gained to the similar amount, except for the amp may well have more headroom than the ODR1. So it might get too squashy into the wet side. Consider having the solo boost on the dry amp only. So that actually it's the dry amp that gets loud when you play your solo for solo boosts. Two potential benefits. One, you could boost that quite a bit and still keep the bass level of the other amp and be more audible. Two, when you boost the dry amp, you won't also boost the level and everything through your wet chain of effects, which can become very splashy and squashy. If you suddenly hit a delay pedal with a massive boost, all of a sudden your delay repeats get massively louder as well. So one option could be have the solo boost on the dry amp only to give you the audibility, and although it is a bit of a faff, have your wet effects on a expression pedal so that you can vary the mix as you like it.
Yep. Another way to do it would be have your boost on your dry amp, but have like an EQ pedal or whatever set as an underdriver on the wet amp, so that when you hit them both, you are going to unity on the wet amp.
Right. So keep the wet amp
Keep
down.
the wet amp down as the main rhythm sound.
That's a good
but
shout.
you're not you're not punching into it too hard.
Yeah, that is a good shout. That is a good shout. Yeah, it's one reason why Dan and I like not too much gain in the amp. If you're playing hard rock and that's the sound you want, there's no way around it. You have to use amp gain. It's the best sound for that stuff. But if you play the kind of music that we play, we like the amp just on the edge. Now, I'm kind of not in a similar place, but one of the reasons for getting the Marshall, let's talk about that again, is I want to run the amp squashier. I want to run it with more overdrive.
Yeah.
But I've got it right on the edge of where actually running the delays and reverbs in the front isn't too much of an issue, and stepping on boosts and stuff.
Because it's amazing how far you can turn the amp up before that becomes not usable. Yeah, totally.
And so then the boosts kind of put it into the same problem that you've got. But one thing I'm finding is then if you, with that amp on the edge and volume control on the guitar and a boost pedal, you've got that. You've got that level of awesomeness.
Of responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great though.
But not only that, if I was doing that into just the clean 2-rock, that amount of volume change would be really, really painful because it just gets louder. Yeah. Whereas with the Marshall, it does get louder, but it also gets squashier, compressed, and more harmonic. Yeah. And hopefully that helps. I don't know. It is having one amp gainy and one amp not is an issue. Unless you Bonamassa, when you just the Silver Jubilees are doing that job all the time. And what you do is you switch your dumbles in for the solo boost, which is exactly what I was just suggesting you do with your dry amp. Ah,
it's magic. It's just... Yeah, how wonderful.
Okay, I hope that helps, Ollie. Jason Thompson. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Leg Ends, I'm finally getting to watch live again.
Yay.
Well, welcome back, Jason, whatever you've been doing in the meantime. He says, if I go from the isolated out on G3 into a Synco, will I still have the benefit of ground isolation and buffer since it is a passive device? Thank you.
Yes, completely. So it's a passive, but all of the inputs and outputs are completely isolated from each other. So yes, you have no issues.
Explain what the Synco is, Dan.
Yeah, so the Synco is 5 in, 5 out patch bay. So you can see it all uses plastic jacks, and basically it's just a through connection, so that when you put it on your pedal board, you can connect all of your isolated outputs so they are TRS and mono. So you can use TRS or mono.
Or MONO.
MOD1. So, but they are completely isolated from each other. There's no connections between any of them. So if you're going from the isolated out of G3 into one side and the out one, which is the earth side, into another one, absolutely they retain all their isolatedness. Happy days.
There you go. It's a yes from us. Alex241. Alex241. 2 for 1 Alexes. No question this week. Please take one from the chat and continue your fascinating deep dive into all the gloriousness aspects of tone. Cheers from upstate New York.
Oh, thank you, mate.
Cheers to upstate New York. Okay, Alex, we'll take one from the chat.
Andreas Johansson. This is not that one, but this is there's a. Well, while Mick looks for that one, I'll just answer this one. It says, Dan, can you please make a dual boost pedal thing like that? I'm sure other people make it. There are so many wonderful pedals out there. I'm trying really hard not to go into that world. I'm doing pedal boards, switching systems, and power supplies. That's the 3. That's my world. I'm very happy in that world. But that's very kind of you.
David Barlow's on. Hello, David.
G'day,
it was
mate.
nice to see you very briefly at the guitar show.
He's looking good, isn't he? He's looking well.
He is. You are looking well, mate.
Well,
I particularly
well
like your
done.
tit fur as well. It was very nice. He says, how is Rosie's Blues Dads?
Oh, very good.
I've noticed your brother started doing Sauvignon Blanc in Tesco's. Gary.
Gary
Barlow. He's got a branded Sauvignon Blanc in Tesco's.
Gary Barlow has a no.
I have photographic evidence.
Wow.
I went to see my mum yesterday, so I thought drinking was a good way to deal with that. And here it is.
Oh boy.
Oh, it's a bit over. Unfortunately, it seems to be overexposed. I promise you, on that label, it says Gary Barlow Sauvignon Blanc.
Wow. I watched. There's a movie on. I was at a friend's house and they put this film on about Robbie Williams called Better Man.
Yeah.
And had someone playing him in that film. I know nothing about any of that stuff.
It's quite an interesting story. To take that story.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. Keep going. On a gig-related challenge, you never seem to bring a guitar stand. Don't you ever? And if you do,
no.
What kind do you prefer? That's it.
We'll probably get a copyright strike for that.
That's how
Now it's time.
talk
You
about
made
it.
Sauvignon Blanc.
Well, I need some more cash. 18 million
There's an Archie made
pounds.
A
Doesn't
major
stretch
seven
the
in
way
it.
it used to.
And
Gotta
we'll
pay
crush
tax.
those
Pay tax.
grapes. No time throw shapes. We'll be
That's very
crushing,
good.
and forever we will be so drunk, drunk in our gig. We will never be uncommon again.
Never be sober again. Brilliant.
Never be sober again. That's
There
right.
you go.
Never drunk. Anyway,
That's very good.
if we don't get a copyright strike for that, I'm going to be offended
Okay.
because I would swear people thought Gary was in the room. I don't know why I chose to sing the high bit.
So, what guitar stands do we use? Because generally, when we do TPS gigs, there's quite a few guitars. So we have these. Hopefully, you can see them. No, you can't see them, but they're
I would get one for you. They're by Gravity.
Gravity.
It's holding guitars for me.
Yeah, I got one here. I
Gravity
got one here with mount on it.
doesn't want them to fall down.
Here we go. This is one of those guitar stands. So lots of places for your guitars.
Or whatever the notes are. I don't go up there very much. It's mad all the way up there. Yeah, for TPS gigs we use those ones. Normal gigs I tend not to bother because they just get in the way and some idiot will not walk over them. So if you take a guitar like this to a gig which has a very vulnerable headstock, what I would do with that is put it in a corner somewhere.
Right.
Because normally I'm stood in a corner. Or have the case somewhere handy and just have it in the case. But the idea of having it on I think the next best option after that is one of those hanging guitar stands where it hangs
Yeah, you got a few of them
like
around
that.
there.
Because if
Yeah.
somebody hits that, it's harder to push those over than the ones where they just sit in a thing at the bottom and have got all the lateral movement that way and that way possible. Fenders just literally lean them up against the amps.
Depravity.
That's because me and Dan, well, I can't speak for Dan, I tend to end up playing very small places, so there isn't room for guitar stands.
Yeah. I'm gonna need a few for the Dan band. I'm gonna need a few. There's a few. I'm just gonna have them next to me and just.
You're not going to get a tech then?
I don't know. I don't know yet. I'd like to do it without one, but we may need one. We will see. Did you know? Did you know?
James Blessed sounds more like Deirdre Barlow. Ken! Everything changes but boo, says Simon V. RDJ. Thank you.
Changes, but that's very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did. Have you seen that film, Better Man?
No.
So basically, Robbie Williams is his character is a monkey.
Oh, I see. It's actually a film.
It's actually a film.
Oh, it is, because I've seen the thumbnail on Netflix or whatever it is, and I've gone, that looks like Robbie, and it actually is Robbie Williams.
But done digitally as a monkey.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that was interesting. Having no concept of that, and take that and all that stuff. I wasn't here for that. It was interesting. I've got no connection with any of the songs or anything like that. Whereas, my wife and our friends all had that nostalgic thing. Yeah. But I like the monkey. I thought the monkey was good.
If you can be asked ever, watch the documentary on them. It's fascinating.
Right.
One of the early manufactured boy bands.
Yeah.
But, Gaza, obviously, extremely good songwriter.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, brilliant.
I didn't like it at the time, but I think you sort of see a national institution unfolding in front of your eyes, and you're like, sod that, I'm listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan. But
John W. 777 says, I'd tech for you if I was in the UK. Thanks, mate. That's very kind. And Lee Weatherall says, I just joined Patreon Legends. Thank you, mate.
Thanks, Lee.
We really appreciate it. It does make a real difference. Thank you so much.
Chris Johnston. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Chris Johnston is on somewhere in the UK by the looks of things, and he says, I love my upgraded worn ebony Casino. Low wind Monty's P90s and a 50s harness. Curious about a Bigsby for stability and sonics. Any thoughts?
Yes. I was at ATB Guitars in Cheltenham on Thursday and was going to check something out for a friend of ours. And while I was there was a guitar that caught my eye. It's a 1964 330 with a factory Maestro vibrola on it, which is very similar. And, oh man, I loved it. It's that I had a little deluxe reverb, and I got it up to 3, and I was just howling, which is a problem. But
feedback, you mean?
Yeah.
We're going to do a show on feedback tomorrow. We're going to film it tomorrow, so it'll be out in a few weeks.
Yeah, brilliant. So that was a thing. Bigsby. I'm sure it'd be cool. I just don't know because it's completely hollow.
Yeah, so one great thing about Casino and a 330, same guitar pretty much. I know all the Casino people will get mad and all the 330 people will get mad, but it's the same guitar. This is not one of those. This is a 345. However, Casino does tend to have a bridge like this, trapeze bridge, which is anchored at the strap thingy and comes out and sits on the guitar there.
There's no anchors there, right? It's the only anchor point is at the pins.
So it is floating.
Right.
And as such, it creates a great deal of resonance behind the bridge. And they have a sound, right? If you were to take this off, install a stop tail, which happened to a great many 345s with trapezes and 335s with trapezes for that matter, the sound of the guitar would change fundamentally, because all of a sudden your bridge is connected straight into the center block of the guitar, and all this extra noise, when you plug it in, it is massive amount of extra noise resonance, but it's one of the things that contributes significantly to the sound of the guitar in the 330s case and the Casino. So if you then put a Bigsby on, the Bigsby is sort of I would say tonally is a halfway house between a stop tail and a trapeze, because it's a big hunk of metal, number one, and it is connected to the guitar's top on one of these. On a Casino, it wouldn't be.
No, it'd be the
because
same.
it's hollow.
Yes.
Nevertheless, it is in fairly significant contact with
They
the top.
don't have a pin on the metal side. It's still all just connected via the bridge.
Yeah, and I would imagine it must sit on
Something.
it must sit on the guitar
Yeah.
in a way that, I mean, this is in contact, but there's a bit of felt between it, and so it will change the sound.
Yeah.
I think they're unbelievably cool. I reckon you might get a bit less feedback with the Bigsby on there because it will inhibit the vibration of the top a bit more.
Oh, interesting.
How much less?
Yeah.
Because you can't stop a 330 or a Casino. Once you get to a certain level, you can't stop it.
Yeah.
So I think it's great. I want to put a Bigsby on this, but I want to get a 330 first with one of these.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, I play this guitar in one of the vlogs I've made. It's such a good sounding guitar.
It's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, but that 330 just into a quiet deluxe. I could have just spent the whole day playing it.
Apropos of that whole discussion, I think one answer of the increased war on volume, if you're going to be defeated by it, is to use a semi-hollow or a hollow guitar.
Right.
Because the resonance is there.
Yes.
You know, we're going to talk about this in the feedback show, but one of the things that happens, the quieter you play and the more direct you go, you lose all the physical resonance of speaker and guitar, which is,
Yeah.
you know, for us, 60% of guitar tone.
Oh, Corey Gonguilio's on.
Hello, Corey.
Hey, mate.
I think Zach Mythos was talking about coming over with you, and if you do that, mate, you're more than welcome to come on the show.
That would be really
It would be
awesome.
great to have you on, buddy.
He says, I have a 1961 Casino and I get minimal feedback at loud volume. Using your body is the ultimate feedback. booster."
There you go. So you can physically hold on to it.
Interesting.
Oh, that's good. That's
Corey, what was the guitar that you were playing when I saw you play at the Two Rock event? I think it was it a Collings? I don't know. It sounded incredible, and that was a semi-hollow as well. Yeah, saw Corey play with Matt and Josh and those guys, and he was just really, really awesome, really beautiful.
Dustin Thiessen, I don't recall. Did you ever delete the Veritone on the 345? Yes, got rid of it, stripped it all out. It sounds miles better. I felt very vindicated by Tom Bukovac demonstrating pretty much the same thing this week.
Oh, cool.
Not that I needed vindication. It just sounds miles better to me now. But
Corey says that was a 1967 335.
yeah, that's his main guitar.
It's
Or it's the one I often see you playing, Corey. What were we talking about? We're
Amazing.
talking about that guitar, loudness, Bigsbys.
Someone was asking about putting a Bigsby on a
Yeah,
on a
after
casino
that.
type thing.
Oh yeah, no, I think in this low volume crap that is going on and people are really fighting with, I think something like a Casino or something semi-hollow is going to would help in a big way in a low volume environment, because you do get more interaction between speaker and guitar.
And now Jack Reed said something just so crazy. He says, just spray the limiters with hairspray. I mean, who would ever do something like that, Jack? That is outrageous behaviour. I would never condone that action.
Gary, Dan told a story about spraying limiters. Gary Jovanovic wants to know how low the pickups are on the gold Strat. Now, do you mean this gold Strat or the other one? I'll show you both. This is the 1970 one, and this is how low the pickups are. If I had a measuring stick, I could measure it for you. But so yeah, some people say you should fret at the 15th fret and then measure.
Oh, that's interesting.
Anyway, yeah, it's probably more helpful to say that they're about, on the bass side, maybe 2 millimeters out of the pickguard.
Oh.
On this gold Strat, a bit lower because the pickups are more powerful, so probably 1 millimeter out on the bass side. On my Sunburst, the 61, they are about 1 millimetre out, but I kind of, they're as far down as they'll go. They won't go any further.
Okay, I have a question for
which
you
is
then.
annoying.
How would you look at the pickup height on those, and what do you think?
The pole pieces are adjusted nicely, so whoever's done that knows what they're doing. Yeah.
Look all right?
Yeah. Are they? I always forget which way round it goes. Yeah, that's right. Higher on the D string, lower on the G string, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. The trouble with pickup height is you keep adjusting and you're like, okay, the loudest is the best position.
Yeah. It's not.
And the most bass and all, and it might be if you like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is.
Someone's asking, Jean Jo Hung says, big headstock Strat, does it have 3 bolt neck plate? No, so that
This
is
one doesn't, it's a 70.
70, and it still has the 4 bolts. I mean, it's such a great guitar. There you go. So that is refinished, right? With
Yeah,
the
it's a
poly finish
refin.
on the...
Used to belong to Ainsley Lister. It's a 1970 4-bolt truss rod adjuster, not there. So before the
Oh, yes.
before the bullet truss rod. So
Yeah,
it's got the
right.
truss rod adjuster down here where it should be.
How long did they have a big headstock, but the truss rod was there for?
72, 73.
Okay, so
The
just a short
3-bolt
period.
came
Okay.
in, I think.
Right.
72 maybe. Might even have been 71.
Such great guitars. That would be the big headstock. That would be my Strat of choice.
So I mean, it lives in E flat, this one, but
Sorry, excuse me.
bless you, Daniel.
Thank you.
It lives in E flat, but it does sound totally different to the 61.
Yeah.
Original everything's got original pickups, but
No, it's a sledgehammer, that guitar. I love it dearly.
it's the weakest sounding of all my Strats.
Yeah, but it's when you play that loud, it's so punchy. I love it. Bless you, Dan. So Simon, thank you, mate.
It's got less low mid. Quite a lot less low mid than the 61. Anyway, blah blah blah. Sorry, we got massively tangented there. 71 says Andreas Johansson. Thank you, Andreas. That's kind of you. Yeah, so 3-bolt truss rod adjuster, bullet truss rod adjuster up the other end. 71.
Marco Giliberto says, Dan, you needed a red Strat, I think. Thank you, mate. Now I need to learn to play my red telly, is what I need to do. Or this, or any of my other...
Hello, dog.
Rosie.
Coming in, Rosie.
Rosie.
You going to come and say hello?
Hi.
Come on, then. Come and say hello to the peoples. It depends if you feel... Oh, you're going to go see Dan.
Hey,
Okay.
come on.
Fair enough.
Come on.
Fair enough. You
Come on
bored of
up.
me.
Come on. How's her leg?
I'm the boring one. She's not limping anymore,
Okay.
so we think it's pretty good.
What you got?
You got Sergey. Where's Sergey? She has a little fluffy toy called Sergey. What are you doing? Don't be barking at me, not now.
Rosie, do you want to come up?
Do you want to come up and say hello? Come on. Then.
Come on. Come with Daddy.
Can you come up and say hello? You're not going out for a wee, not now. No. Come on. You going to come up and say hello? No? No, okay. Fair enough. She'll probably start barking in a minute. Maybe, Rosie, you could sit on the table. Why don't you get on the table? Come on here. What's this? Come on here. What's this? Come on the table. Right, can you see the people? No, camera's still too high. Oh, baby dog. Come in now. Come in now. Okay, you have to go and lie down. Right, see ya. See ya.
Oh, she's so great.
Sorry if you didn't get to see Rosie, people. we sort of discouraged her from jumping up on the chairs because it's not very good for her back and stuff. So anyway, good. Right, let's shall we flip a neck?
Oh, this is interesting. Sorry, Lee Weatherall says, I worked on a gig with Hank Marvin, and as a support band, his son Ben played.
Oh,
what a player. Wow.
Ben, yeah.
Awesome.
Met Ben very many years ago.
Cool.
Nice. Didn't realise Hank was still playing. Bloody hell. James Urquhart. Hi, James. He says, hello, gents. No question or comment this week, but I wanted to thank you both for the fun and knowledge, though it would be fun to see you try a Princeton through a wall of Marshall 4x12s.
Did we not do that last week?
Oh, he's talking about a wall of them.
A wall of them.
Yeah. We'd have to work out some impedance, but yeah, we could do that.
That would be fun.
That would be fun.
So interesting because it recorded so much better than how it sounded in the room, the Princeton. And I actually got a text message from Andy. From
Andy Wood.
Andy Wood, thank you. So many Andys. I got a text message from Andy Wood going, man, the Princeton into the 4x12 was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, maybe we'll try that, James. For those of you who didn't watch, on Friday we were asking the question, does everything sound better through a 4x12? And I think the question was yes.
Yeah.
By and large. Helpfully. Philip Zielka. Philip Zielka, I'm going to say. And apologies if we've said that wrong. Would you ever consider using matching amps in a wet-dry rig? I've divided by 13, 9, 15. That's amazing. And I'm considering getting another one for wet-dry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, why not?
It's a great way to do it. Because if you love the tone that you're getting from that one amplifier, then having a second one, and it means that you can then mess around with stereo, but the wet-dry thing, it just means more of what you love. And yeah, it's a great way to do it. Yeah, love it. Very good.
Yeah, totally. Digger68. Hello, Digger. Hello, Leggins. Any advice on slimming down the number of gain stages? Try as I might to minimise. I can't seem to let go of my faves. I'd hate to lose any of the versatility, but having 10, even with a QMX10 is too much. 10 is...
10's a lot.
10's a lot.
Okay, let's have a think about it though. Compressor. You might have a big muff, a sunface, a tone bender, and some sort of
rewind.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying you got compressor, fuzz, overdrive, distortion, boost, and what you're saying is multiples of each.
But I've just named just the fuzzers, which are wildly different from each other.
Yeah.
That you might say, well, for this song, I want a bit of that. So it's like, it's how far. My pedalboard's ridiculous, so I'm not going to say that's excessive. Here's the question: do you need to pare down? Are you out playing with that board, and it's become a hindrance to your performance, or do you just not like looking at a big pedal board? It depends on why you want to slim it down. If what you've got is option anxiety and you want to just focus more on a simpler setup and playing more, fantastic. But you need to make some choices. And if what you've got, it's very interesting what you said, that you've worked on getting these, and these are the 10 that you love. You've got just make some choices. That's it.
Yeah. Dan is absolutely right. What is the reason for slimming down?
Exactly.
So I've slimmed down because I have to have a smaller pedal board. I can't take a big board doesn't fit, and it doesn't fit in the car, and it's too heavy, and
it's too heavy. But I'll buy a 700 watt Marshall on a 4x12.
It's different though. Big square things fit in a car in a completely different way than things that are oddly shaped.
Right.
But anyway, it's just too big and too much hassle. But if the sonic argument for it being there and the fact that you didn't get option paralysis and cognitive stress
Yeah.
by having it,
completely.
then there's nothing wrong with having it. Add to the fact it's too big, cognitive stress on my part because I can't concentrate on doing the job.
Yeah. That's it. It's defining why you want to pare down. Yeah.
So paring
absolutely.
down for me, and also having on this most recent project, having gone to the rehearsals and only ended up using 3 of the things that were on there. So
Yeah.
what do you then do? Do you build a whole separate board for every different damn thing you do? No,
Yeah.
that's a pain.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons. Again, yeah. What's the purpose? What's the what is required? Is the answer.
Yeah. Like it.
And it's very hard to answer that unless
is.
you've got a specific gig and set list. You know what's required, but if that is constantly changing and is wildly varied, then it's much harder. That's the position that Dan and I find ourselves in, because while there might be a project or 2 going on, there's also the project in the sky that you've been thinking about ever since you were 11 years old.
That's right.
And you're still half building that pedal board all the time. That's what I'm trying to put down, because that project isn't happening and hasn't happened. So it's like, what actually is happening?
Okay. All right. I get that. That pedal board build in the sky though, I'm going to be ready for it because one day it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm actively working towards some sort of resemblance of that. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think define why you want to pare it down first.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, completely.
What are you going to use? Well, notice we've carefully avoided using the word need, because you don't need any of it. What do you want and what gets used?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. Patrick Stringley. Oh no, Plink Stringley. My eyes are getting worse and worse and worse. I was thinking that's a great name for a guitar player, but Plink Stringley. Plink Stringley says, howdy gents, either of you ever play a Strat or Telly with different pickups? For example, lipsticks, P90s, Filtertrons. If so, did any stand out?
Oh, that's interesting.
I quite like Filtertrons in a Telly for a Cabronita style thing. I think
Yeah, that
works.
Cabronita Telly. Yeah,
works
that was
nice.
cool.
I've played one Strat with lipsticks and I keep meaning to do it because Stevie Ray did it. So I think that would be cool. Obviously, humbuckers and Strats, I don't think we need to talk about that. We know that's a path we know about. P90s and Strats I've never loved.
Right.
Even though they should work, they could work, they do work, and a lot of people like them. I can't get my head around it. But
Okay.
sonically, no reason why it shouldn't work. I think Dan and I probably both sort of tied to the fact that that guitar should have those pickups. Do you agree?
I agree. I agree that trying to find... Okay, look. This guitar, right? This is a very early 1962 SG, which is a stunning guitar, which I love and I play every day. I don't need this guitar. All I need... And massive thank you to Dunlop for saving the day when they gave me this Strat at the guitar show. I can do everything I need to do on this guitar, right? But you know, the other guitars I have got they've got voices and stuff that I really dig. One thing that I think is tricky though is buying a guitar that you want to do everything, so you make it like humbuckers with split just trying to be all things to all people. You know what I mean? I've
Yeah,
never played a guitar like that I've picked up and gone, oh, this is amazing.
Why have one guitar when you can have 10?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Although that does become more difficult at gigs. I never want to take more than 2 guitars to a gig if I can help it. Maybe 3 at a push.
Yeah, right.
Just because it's... Well, the hassle of carrying things I don't mind at all. It's the maintenance of whereabouts and can you fit them all in your little corner of where you've got to do the gig. But yeah, I'd say lipsticks on a Strat. I'd say Filtertrons on a Tele for a Cabronita style. But that could just be that those things have been established by players that I really like. So, lipsticks are really interesting. They're really, really interesting. And obviously Dan Electro did a great deal for the popularisation of lipstick pickups again when Dan Electro came back to the market in the 90s. Because a lot of those U2s and 59 DCs and stuff have the lipsticks. And they have a very unique construction as well. But together it creates a really, really cool noise. I've got enough Strats. Maybe I'll get some lipsticks and shove them in.
Yeah.
As long as I don't have to do any routing.
Yeah, right, okay. Someone was asked what I think of Bigsbys on a Tele. Tim B says, Dan, what do you think of Bigsbys on a Tele? Thought of adding one to any of yours? So I had a Bigsby on a Tele that I removed. Yeah. They're cool. I don't know. It's as soon as you do that, it stops being a Tele. As soon as you put the old wanger on it,
the old wanger,
it's a different thing. I mean,
they do look cool.
They do look cool, and the Bigsby is probably the one.
Bigsby looks cool on anything, though. I think.
Yeah, Bigsby is probably the one thing,
except a gem.
That.
Let's do that.
Oh my god, that is awesome. The Bigsby done properly and set up properly, because you've got to get them.
Yes.
Like on a Tele, where the saddles are this high and the Bigsby's this high, and getting them to,
you've got a string angle,
all
thing.
that stuff. They subtract less than other options.
Yeah. Digger68 again says, I love seeing super chats for the crowd to get a question. So here we go. Please answer an interesting chat question. Let's make this trend and keep it going. Okay, Digger. Let's find one then. We did just answer one, but we'll answer another. Gene Yohung, does Bigsby on a Tele change the tone? Yes, it does. If you attach a hunk of metal to any guitar, it changes the tone. Which is neither better nor worse, but it is different.
Here's an interesting test for you to do. Grab your guitar and then just play anything, and then now go and put your headstock against the wall and play the same thing, and just see how adding vibrational contact changes the way the guitar sounds. As soon as you add anything, everything makes a difference. Everything makes a difference.
Everything makes a difference. I'm just looking for a question.
BV's just said you're frozen, your broadband is playing up.
Oh.
It would appear that we are frozen.
Oh, that's not very good.
That's weird.
Keep talking, mate.
Okay. It's back now. BV says it's back now. Okay. Wow.
Oh.
There we go.
So,
we don't know.
Sorry if we were frozen. Hopefully we're back in the game. Okay, so the question is from Dr. Matt Walton. Mick, do you still play your ES345? I don't see it much. Yeah, I play it all the time.
Great guitar.
It's in the upcoming vlogs that I spoke about earlier, and it plays a big part in that. I suppose I can tell you because you're our nearest and dearest. I've personally stopped using the vintage guitars quite so much on the show because it does really annoy people. They find it very elitist, and we get a bit of hate for it. So I've been trying to play a few more accessible guitars so not to upset people too much. And it is a bit, I'm very happy playing the other guitars and keep the keep the vintage guitars for special stuff like vlogs and when we're doing challenges and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm being oversensitive, but if you haven't seen it so much, that's probably why. So I'll play the 335 more, which is hardly an accessible guitar. It's still flipping for $4,000 or $5,000 or whatever. But yeah, I do. I have three main guitars: the 61 Strat, this, and this Les Paul, and those are the guitars I play the most in my own playing life. And that guitar gets played a lot as well, the Custom Shop Strat. So yeah, these are the main ones. Actually, Dan, there's something you haven't noticed.
Yes, what is that? Oh, hang on. Sounds like my SG. Okay.
Sorry, I will just tune it. West Valley guitars. Who knew?
So they were in the West Valley?
We had a guitar builder just down the road. Lovely guy called Josh. Used to work at Crimson years ago. And has started out building his own stuff. So I went down and had a look at his workshop. Sorry, it's got a rattle in here somewhere. He's come up with his own shape, which it was called the Bronco, which he's had to change because somebody's got it trademarked.
Ford?
Could be Ford, could be Fender. Because
Right.
I don't think
Oh.
I don't think a car trademark would apply to an electric guitar, so it's probably Fender.
Right.
So I said I'd just borrow it for a minute and have a play. Got a guitar coming in from Patrick Eggle as well.
Oh, wicked.
And one from Alistair Atkin. Just have a look at some.
Yeah.
Modern-
Did you
modern
say
British
we were going to get
guitars.
a Novo at
Yeah,
some point?
we might get a Novo, but I just wanted to have a look at some sort of contemporary British guitar builders.
Yeah, nice.
Obviously, I'm having one made by
Matey boy.
Dean Cutler.
Yes.
Yeah, this has got a loose saddle, so we need to just tighten it up. But it's really cool. They are, I think they're Mojo Tone Gretsch Filtertron types.
Okay.
Not Filtertrons. Oh, God, somebody help me. The Dwayne Eddy pickup. You know what I'm talking about. Why are you playing that?
So much of Star Wars before, and it's been in my head ever since.
Dynasonics. God, what's wrong with my brain? So they're Mojo
At least you don't have Star Wars.
Tone Dynasonics, and I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. So I'm going to borrow it for a bit. Play it for a bit. Trent makes the bridge,
Oh, really?
so it's kind of a modern boutique thing, I guess. It's cool. It's really cool. Hello, Josh, if you're watching. Milo Longboarder is saying the audio and video is out of sync. Sorry, we seem to have some sort of internet problem. Not quite sure what that is. Something's gone wrong there then. Oh, someone says if you're out of sync, refresh and it will get back in. Do try that. Rob Brewer says he's in Evercreech. Yes, he is.
This is cool.
Yeah. Jean Miro Picard says, what are the specs on the Custom Shop Strat? I did a vlog on it ages ago, Jean, so you can watch that. I just thought I like it. I think it's, you know, different
I like the shape, yeah.
Nice and lightweight.
Yeah.
Really groovy thing. So, yeah, anyway, you'll hear it on the show soon enough. Darthasonics, says Matt Swanton. Don't keep playing that, we will get a copyright strike.
Sorry.
Everyone's saying, yeah, if you're out of sync, just refresh. So we have obviously had some internet cobblers going on. Oh, God. Didn't know you could do that. Pinch and zoom. Rick Van Dyne. Hello, Rick. He says, Mick, you mentioned that you moved back to the Bell Epoch Deluxe, and I know that you like its preamp. Have you considered an EP3 preamp comparison between the Bell Epoch, the UAFX Starlight, the Orion, the Clinch Effects EP Pre, and others? I haven't, because I don't like it that much. I don't... So Rick is saying that on my latest pedalboard, and there are reasons for this, or at least not on my most recent pedalboard. In the vlog that you'll see coming up, it's predominantly the Free Tone Future Factory. But when I got the Marshall, the Future Factory has a wicked buffer in it. And it sounds very, very bright. And the last thing I want to do to a 100-watt Marshall is make it more bright. And don't get me wrong, I can tweak it and then make it sound great. But what I wanted is something that sounded more like a tape delay, because what I've got is a fuzz and a tube driver and a tape delay, right? Because going for Eric Johnson as the start point. And so I put this back on, the Bell Epoch Deluxe, or one very much like it, one that I made earlier, because it's easy. There probably are other tape delays out there that sound just as good. There's probably others, but I put this on because it's easy and I like the noise of it. Also, because there's no wet dry in the rig, except there is, that's another story. The phase flip doesn't matter, but I do use it with the... Anyway, sorry, the question was about the Pre. Have I considered comparing it? No, I hope this doesn't sound too direct, Rick. I don't care. I like the way this sounds, so I don't need to know if something else sounds better or worse. And I like the fattening effect that it has with that preamp on all the time. I don't use it for that, so I don't want something I can turn on and off. That's not why I'm using it. It's just that given that this is a delay pedal and it has a fattening effect, that combination works nicely for the Marshall. What I wouldn't do is get a delay and add a fattening effect to that, because I want minimum space.
Someone's asking if this is an ebony fingerboard. Glenn Michael Thompson. Yes, it does look like ebony. I would say that's ebony.
Josh will be able to tell you.
Yeah.
It certainly looks like ebony.
Yeah. But
it may not be. It could be ebonized rosewood, which happens sometimes.
Cool.
Yeah, Dan, you've got the Clinch Effects.
Yep.
Do you like that?
Yes,
the EP style booster.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Echoplex style booster.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. No, it's the realest one, I think, that I've heard. I love the standard EP boost. But I was going to say the standard EP boost. If you put them head to head, I think a lot of people would go, actually, I like the EP boost because it's a bit different. It's heavily influenced by the Echoplex, but it's a little bit different, and I think the little bit different is actually quite nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, but the Clinch Effects one, I think, is
somewhere. I don't know where it is.
The Clinch gives you a couple of options, and it's really, really fantastic.
To be just to nail that on, if any of you know the EP boost by, who's it by?
It is by...
My brain has started doing what yours does.
It's Contagious. Exotic
EP booster. So the Exotic EP booster, probably one of the most popular boosts out there.
Completely.
The effect of the preamp in the Bell Epoch Deluxe is nothing like that. It fattens, and there's a tiny bit of extra fat, but it's nothing like the EP booster when you turn it up. That's a whole different game. So don't be thinking they're the same thing. They're really not. Yeah. It's just a fattening effect.
Yeah. Chase Tone Secret Preamp. That's another one that's really great. There's so many of them, but Chase Tone one's really great.
Yeah. But the conveniently, my favourite boost at the moment is the one in the new Argo.
Oh yeah.
Argo Boost Deluxe, which is coming out soon, which was discovered by mistake.
Do we know when that drops?
Yeah, 28th of March. Well, actually, we're going to be on sale 21st of March with the Argo Boost Deluxe. There'll be a video on it before that. So yeah, we'll be on sale 21st of March. If you want one of those, we'll tell the story some other time. But
awesome.
That is currently my favourite boost, discovered entirely by accident. Zoot Allure.
G'day,
Zoot
mate.
alert. D&M, ever experienced pain in your fretting hand, forearm or shoulder? If so, what did you do about it?
Okay, I'm going to say something controversial.
I have for the first time this month.
Right. I'm going to say something controversial. This is not advice from me, so please don't. This is what I did. When I stepped up training and I started getting all these shoulder aches and elbow aches and hands and everything, I was like, what do I do? And I tried everything, and I took breaks and let my hands heal and ice and all this sports massages and stuff. And then about a year ago it started happening again, and I just went, stuff it, and I trained through it.
Right.
And
you just kept going.
I kept going, and it's been, for me, it's worked out very well. And I haven't had a little bit of a niggle in my right elbow. I just went to the gym with Zach a couple of weeks ago, and we did some farmer carries. And Zach was sort of pushing me on, like we were sort of going, okay, who can go the heaviest? And it got to a point it was pretty silly, and I got a little bit of joint ache from that. But since I've made a decision just to work through it, I haven't had any issue. And now I'm not saying that you should do this. For me, I went through long periods of okay, this hurts, stop, rest, physio, sports massages, blah blah blah. And at the end I'm like, okay, my body's getting older, things are gonna ache, just crack on. And it's been nearly a year without any serious injury, and all my pain's gone. I do practice every day though.
So you're getting pain because you're doing something in a position that is a repetitive action.
Yeah, maybe.
I've never had. Yeah, that's what pain. That's what pain is. I've never done that because I've never practiced the guitar. So, but if you're practicing a technique, so the only time I've had it in the past is when playing. Which is not how Andy Summers plays it. He plays it. Anyway, he does some weird fingering. But I've always played it like this, with the two-tone stretch.
Isn't it? Ah. Is that it?
Yeah, but to get, is it a 9 that?
Yes.
To get the 9 sound, you need to stretch all the way like that. It's every breath you take, right?
Yeah.
And if you play it that way, I just can't do it. You'll notice that as soon as I try to play it, because your index finger is on the A string 5th fret and the E string 5th fret, and your little pinky is on the D string at the 9th fret. So it's quite a stretch, especially to hold it and play the arpeggio.
Yeah.
Even worse down. And then all of a sudden, shooting pain down here at the wedding gig. So I just can't do it. I can't stretch that far.
It's a testament to how good he is, because apparently that's all one take. The whole thing. And it was, the story goes, Sting had done it all for keyboards, and he said, well, let me go and try guitar part. And he's like, have a go. And he went in and he just played that, and everyone was like,
and he did it. And it's a lovely part. So if you're, that's one way to get pain, is to stretch too far. The other way is, if you're, one of the things I've been working on is fives like Eric Johnson, and trying to get there, 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5. And as you build the speed, when you hit the 5th note, you have to have it on a downstroke so you can hit the top note again. And the only way to build the speed in that, which I'm nowhere near yet, is to do it. And all that stuff I've never practiced before, like correct angle of pick, etc., etc. And then it's patterns of it, right? So and that's how you build those fast EJ runs. And when you're going up, so it's all about, it's the absolute opposite way I've ever played the guitar. In order to be able to play it, you have to get the technique right.
Yeah, completely.
You can't play it unless you get the technique right. And I've never, ever, ever done that before. And in the 2 weeks I've been doing it, I've got pain.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Because I'm trying to do something that my body doesn't want to do. So
I spent months trying to do that, right? And I got to. But what I worked out was that if I went,
if you alternated it.
No, I'm actually picking with that finger.
Hybrid, yeah, sorry, that's what I meant.
So I can do that because I'm so used to the chicken picking thing from the telly.
Yeah.
And then, but that, I spent so long, and you've got to be so patient.
Yeah, you have to do it. And that's the only way it's ever going to sound right, by the way, if you pick it right.
Yeah. And every note has to be bang on. Troy Grady.
Yeah, Troy Grady. Cracking the code.
Cracking the code. That guy. I corresponded with him a while ago, and he sent us both a little camera thing to stick on to film our right hand. But I'd love to get him on the show because it's quite the story how he got to that point.
He completely solved it and solved the mystery of how EJ plays those fast runs. Anyway, as an extended explanation of, is if you are practicing something in a single position over and over and over again in order to get dexterity and speed and whatever it is, and that might be your arpeggios, it might be string skipping, it might be your 3 notes on a string, pentatonics, which I just never got into because I hurt after 1 second, which is, says a great deal for people like Paul Gilbert and other players who can play technically. Let's mention Andy Wood as a friend. It's real work, and as you start to do that work, you've really got to start looking after yourself.
Yep, completely.
So I don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
It just hurts too much.
Yeah. Minstrel Gigolo, Christopher Cross. That is Paul. That is Eric Johnson playing his solo on that.
Oh wow!
And it is really wonderful.
BV has chimed in to say that Jeff McAlane, also our friend Jeff McAlane, who's been on the show, has a video on his channel with an expert on hand pain.
Oh, brilliant.
Remedies. Okay. So Jeff McAlane, please check out Jeff McAlane. Thank you, BV, for that. Has done a video with hand pain. Maybe someone can post a link in the chat, and if I know BV, he will already have done it.
Yeah. Richard Lawrence says, I want a Lazy J20. I'm worried about the reviews from Brad Garage on one. Okay. So there's going to be...
For some reason, Jesse's picked up a fair amount of flack. And I don't understand why.
No, I had no idea. I gigged a Lazy J solidly for 10 years. It was the most reliable amp, and I really beat that thing up. I can't say enough good things about it. Fantastic. I've been with Jesse when he's been building amps, and he really cares. I would, get in touch with him and ask any questions that you've got. I think I don't really understand why, but I've had friends record albums with that amp. I've done albums with that amp. Was absolutely superb, and I beat the crap out of that amp. It's been the most reliable amp in like all of my setup. It's been fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of people saying about tension, about getting rid of tension,
Yes.
which, yeah. So watch the video. Hopefully there'll be some good.
Eric was saying that his hand is so loose that quite often his pick just falls out.
Right.
That he is so loose in his hands. That's it. Yeah.
It is funny once you start practicing a technique. When you start, I mean, those of you who practice the guitar will know this, but to me it was a revelation. When you start doing it, it just feels completely weird and alien, and then it becomes something that it isn't. Like, for example, an acronym. Whatever the hell BMW stands for. Bavarian Motor Works, maybe? Something like that.
Yes.
Right. 3 things that become one thing.
Yes.
So BMW isn't 3 things, it's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that, once you learn a pattern of 5s, it's no longer 5, it's 1.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. And Andy Wood was also saying that if you want to play fast, you've got to practice fast. And the building up thing is really important. You've got to get your notes down.
I practice fast. I got 5 minutes in this morning.
There you go.
In between.
I like it. But if you want to do a sweep thing, it's good to go and get them all. But at some point, if you want to go, you got to get used to that action because it's very different than all that shenanigans.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to sound terrible, but I genuinely gave up doing all that stuff because I just couldn't stay committed to it.
Yeah.
So I'd learned something that I could play quite well, and I'd do it at a gig. It'd just be lost. You couldn't hear it.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. I don't have the backbone for it. And I chapeau to anyone who does.
Yeah.
Because when you hear, it's too reductive to call it fast guitar playing, but when you hear somebody with great technique who is on it and can deliver it, it's a wonderful thing.
It really is.
It's
really
a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Really is. Oh, Simon DJ says, DNM just joined the Patreon for the very first time and have joined the throng of people in your Patreon collective. Cheers, mate. That's very kind.
Thank you, buddy. Morley Robertson. Sorry, we've got a few left.
Oh, okay.
Probably catch up a little bit.
Right.
Morley Robertson says lower extremity terminations.
Very good.
You helped me make a decision on which SG to buy as a birthday gift to myself. I just ordered a 61 reissue in teal. Thanks for the help and take one from the chat.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Very nice.
Nice. And happy birthday, Morley. What a great thing to be able to buy yourself a guitar for your birthday. How lovely. Chris Matthews. Hi, Chris. Chris says, hi, DNM. How would you approach gain staging that works best at the front of the chain, but you run at lower gain than others? Do you find other pedals that work better together or move it around? Many thanks. Okay, so Chris is asking this question because Dan and I tend to put the highest gain pedals first and the lowest gain pedals last. So Chris is saying, what if you've got a pedal you want to use at the front of your chain, but you run at a lower gain than others? Yeah, okay. There are no rules.
There are no rules.
Yeah, and there are plenty of people that use boosts first in their chain. So that's completely cool. Find other pedals that work better together or move it around. You got to start with why is it not working? What is it specifically that's not working?
Gain staging, if you're using multiple gain stages, getting it right, I mean, it's the foundation of everything that you're doing tonally with pedals. You can cover up a slop with reverb, but I promise you, time spent getting your gain stages right you'll be rewarded. Because if you can make that stuff sound really great without reverb and delay, when you put the reverb and delay, it's going to sound magic. But there's no quick and easy answer because it'll be different for every player, every guitar, every amp, every signal chain. Mixed right hand is different to my right hand. We're going to have different gain staging. There's no substitute for putting the work in. You got to work out why that pedal isn't working for you in that situation. Take it out, try something else in its place, move it down the chain. You haven't told us what the pedal is, and what it's going into and what guitar you're playing.
One of the ways I've started to think about it, and the way that it seems to work for me anyway, is, and this chimes into all the questions we've had on gain staging tonight. There will be, or maybe there's not, but for me there is a pedal that's kind of doing the bulk of the lifting. So if I've got amp, guitar, delay pedal, let's say, and add one gain stage, what's the one overdrive pedal you're going to add that's going to do most of the things you need? If you can identify which of the overdrive pedals on your board is that pedal, what I then do is put something either side of it so that I can make it more gainy.
That's very nice.
By going into it, or I can make it louder by having something after.
That's very good.
Now, if you then have a B pedal, so of course this is only relevant if you're stacking them. There might be some pedals that you turn on that you never stack with anything. That's the other way perhaps to think about your lower gain pedal. Maybe you don't want to stack it with anything. Maybe you keep it
separate
for the job it does,
yeah,
and don't stack anything with it.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't matter where it goes.
Yeah.
So it really, really doesn't matter where it goes at that point. So maybe that's some food for thought to help you demystify it. Because we get it, right? You know, looking at 5 overdrive pedals on your board, or 4, it's like, oh God.
Yeah.
I've got, you know, if there's 5, you've got 25 options here.
Yep.
So maybe that's a way to simplify.
Very good.
I hope that works for you, Chris.
Yeah, good luck, mate.
Good Californian morning, says Forrest Lee. Hello,
Lovely.
Forrest Lee. Good Californian morning. Love you guys. We love you, mate. Thank you for being with us. Says one question. When is the US-based Experience Day tour happy? I'm happy to host and bring some surprise guests. We've talked about it. We've talked about it. We should do it. We've got so many lovely friends in the US. And it's just a case of doing it. The trouble is, right, there's 350 million people in the US, maybe slightly more. And
we can't all get them in.
348 million of them watch that pedal show. So how do we choose a place to go to, right? Because all the people will be sad if we don't go there. I think a lot of English bands found this out, didn't they? They're like, oh, we'll do a tour. We'll do Exeter, Bristol, Newcastle, Sheffield, London, Brighton, Glasgow, Edinburgh, maybe Inverness if you're lucky. No worries, we can do that in a bus.
Yeah.
America.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and once you've done that, you can jump on the ferry and go and do Europe.
A bit of Ireland, yeah, and
stuff.
a bit of Europe, yeah. But America's a whole different game. Yeah, okay, thanks for asking, Forrest. Maybe we'll get to the States one of these days. Wadey 1960 CS is last in tonight with a super chat, so I will just double check that, but I think is last in. Wadey 1960 CS. Evening, Mick and Dan. I picked up a couple of pedals in the wild this past week based on your videos. A Cunningham Amps Mark 1 Zonk. What? That's a rare find.
Yeah.
And a Creepy Fingers Hold Tight. Both
Yes.
epic finds. Oh my God, they are great finds.
Cunningham amps from New Zealand. I hooked up with those guys at NAMM.
Oh, did you?
I did, and they send their love, and they're just doing some truly magnificent work. That dual fuzz is so wonderful.
They are great.
Yeah,
they are great. I have to say, shout out to Marcus and Izzy Reeves. I've been using the Facet FF,
the daughterboard fuzz,
the daughterboard one on my board. I've constantly been looking for one that does this. in the way this does it. And I would say nothing quite does it in the way this does it.
Have you tried other ones of those? And is that one particularly unique?
Me and Marcus looked at it, and he had this one and Ainsley's, and he said they sound basically identical.
Okay.
So, it's like it does have a little naughty extra component under the board,
Okay.
which apparently helps with the cleanup.
Oh, cool. Okay, nice.
And another one that I've been using, which I really love, is the Jam Pedals
Oh, the
Fuzz Face Silicon,
Fuzz Face,
which
yeah.
I really love.
That's very cool.
Analog Man, obviously, always and forever, the Sun Faces. But I just found a sweet spot on this Facet Fuzz FF, which is killer. I'd misunderstood it's got a bias control, and I'd misunderstood. I had it round the wrong way.
Oh, okay.
And to me, it just sounds best like
Yeah, right. Yeah.
maybe back like 10%, but and then that and a tube driver at the moment are just working with
Yeah, sure.
Mugly, as I've called it.
Very good.
Anyway, sorry. How did we get onto that? Good. All right. Yes. Simon VRDJ says we should hook up with Rhett Shaw, Rick Beato, and Tim Pierce. I would love to see you visit them. Yeah, we'd like to visit all those people. That would be great someday. Yes, Tim Chalmers says Chris Buck showed us how ridiculously expensive it is to tour USA. Yeah.
God bless him for doing it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks for being with us, everyone. Oliver Hutton says, if it goes wrong, kick me in the ass. Kick this ass.
Just kick my ass.
It's an Artie Fuffkin.
I got no timing. I just got no timing. Very good.
What about Canada, says Glenn Michael Thompson. Yeah, we could just go on tour for the rest of our lives. Which I think touring the US and Canada might not be very long. I'd be hopeless on tour. I'd be utterly hopeless. Right. Thank you for being with us, everyone. We really appreciate your company every Monday. Thank you for the kindness in the super chats. We really appreciate that too. And it is nice to be among friends and have a lovely time. So yeah, we're filming tomorrow. We're doing 2 days of filming this week, actually. We're going to film some stuff. Have schwang. Get on it. Dan wants to do a show on can we make a 12-string simulator without using a 12-string simulator.
I've got a plan.
Good. So we've got a 12-string simulator and a 12-string and whatever Frankenstein cobblers Dan manages to come up with.
This is the one that has the least percentage amount of actually going to work.
Okay.
Right. But let's see.
Let's
Because
see.
in my head it works.
All right. I want to do a show on feedback because a lot of people ask us about feedback and how we can coax feedback. So there will be volume involved and maybe there will be less volume involved. Did actually buy a Digitech Freakout.
Oh, brilliant.
Just to make that point. But yeah, we'll be turning up some amps and seeing how we can make it happen and what helps make it happen. And then after that, who knows?
I'm going to do a show on other fuzzers that you need to know. I brought in some ringers.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's some cool and not new fuzzers, but there are some classic fuzzers out there.
Can we do the new Shaftesbury one then?
That's exactly. That's in there.
So what do you mean
things.
we're going to get to plug in and crank up a Marshall again, Dan? Is that what you mean?
Indeed.
Do you think it might be that Marshall?
Might be that Marshall.
Oh dear, Mugly.
I've got a little, not necessarily a vlog, but it might be a short on a way that you can actually make a 4x12 work in a gig setting.
Okay.
Yeah. Could be fun.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for being with us, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
We wish you all the best for the week, and we'll see you Friday for more Shenanigan. Play us out, Dan.
Uh,
I think we can have 2 shakers this week. We'll do this one in 4. We'll do this one in 5.
Too many broken hearts are falling in love. Too many so just allowed to see. And then you pay the price. Things we do for love. Things we do for love. Communication is a problem to the answer.
Here comes the copyright strike.
You know. You do, and then you